Hello, my fellow project managers. I know lots of you work on projects, but the question I have for you is, how many of you actually do a lessons learned? How many of you actually do a retrospective? How many of you actually think Kaizen, continuous improvement? I want to challenge you today to think about closing your projects as being the equity you gain from running the project in the first place, beyond the benefits of the deliverable being transitioned to the customer. There's a lot more you could gain. You could gain insight from team members and stakeholders. I once spoke to a project manager and I said, do you do surveys with your customers and stakeholders on project end? And this project manager said, oh, management doesn't like doing surveys because they'll learn negative things and they don't like that. I'm like, my goodness, they're bypassing all the equity from doing the project, learning what the customer thinks, learning what team members' opinion is about how they could improve. What a waste. Now, I don't want you to do this just at the end of the project. I want you to have regular touch points. In the world of Agile, we call these retrospectives. And the thing about retrospectives is you don't need to wait until the end of the project before you do a retrospective. You don't need to wait until the end of the sprint or the end of the iteration before you do the retrospective. You could do the retrospective at any time you feel there needs to be one as a team. Okay? Now, in the world of predictive, you might want to put this onto a regular cadence. It could be a very quick retro at a high level, but this that I'm about to show you today is all about towards the end, to have a very robust understanding of other people's views. Okay, so let's jump in. I call this Project Management Feedback Survey, and I call this Gathering Insights for Continuous Improvement. So I have the category of the questions and the questions themselves. So the first question is about overall project management. How would you rate the overall project management during this project? Were there project goals, the project goals and objectives clearly communicated and understood by the team? Then we go into communication. How effective was the communication throughout the project? Were updates and information timely and relevant? What about team collaboration? This is my favorite. How would you describe the collaboration within the team? Were the team members able to share their thoughts and ideas openly? I would love for this to be a regular occurring question in all team meetings that are held. Let's say you do it weekly, or maybe you do it bi-weekly. Make sure there's regularity in this one, because you don't want to wait till the end of the project before you learn the truth about what people are thinking. Problem solving. How well were issues and challenges addressed during the project? This is where you need to put on your impediment hat, and this is where the daily Scrum comes into play. You know, one of the trick questions on these Agile exams is the daily Scrum is a dash. And a lot of people, 90% of people fall for the cheap trick. It's a status meeting. No, it's not a status meeting. It's a planning meeting, and it's an uncovering meeting for uncovering impediments. Not for solving them, but for uncovering them. So you don't want to wait until the end before you realize, oh dear, our impediment and issue and challenge process was no good. No. You want to understand how are people finding this all through the project. So this is a great question to ask periodically. Did the project team feel adequately supported in resolving issues? And then we go into decision making. Were decisions made in a timely manner? Was the decision making process clear and inclusive? Task management. How well were tasks and responsibilities assigned and tracked? Were there any bottlenecks in the task execution process? Now, when we talk about assignment and tracking, of course, you understand that I'm thinking more in a hybrid way. So you could tailor this more to Agile if that is in your world. And in fact, to be quite honest, it's individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So in Agile environments, we generally wouldn't use a form. But these are good prompt questions for any team member to bring to the surface. Were there any bottlenecks in the task execution process? Timeline and milestones. Were project timelines and milestones realistic and achievable? Again, this is where Agile shines, because in the world of Agile, we could tailor this even in the middle of the endeavor. We don't need to wait till we get to the end of the project before we realize, oh dear, this doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be having these time box sprints. We should do things in a more fluid and flow-based way. So again, this is to spur thinking in your world. If the cadence of your sprints doesn't make sense, then something should be done. If you don't feel it's good for the team and you're a team member Maybe you are a Scrum Master or a product owner. Then bring your concerns to the surface, right? Were there any unexpected delays? And if so, how were they handled? Learning and improvement. What aspects of the project went particularly well and should be repeated in future projects? Are there areas where improvement is needed? And if so, how can we enhance those aspects? Leadership style. How would you describe the project leadership style? Were there instances where a different leadership approach might have been more effective? When it comes to individual contributions, did team members feel their original individual contributions were acknowledged? And number 20, were there any challenges in coordinating the efforts of team members? Finally, we get to question 21, and this is open-ended comments. And I encourage people to share any additional comments, suggestions, or insights, because this is where it's a catch-all for everything that was missed. And the questions that were not asked, they could be answered because people are thinking of those questions that you weren't. So this is a very important one to put in here. Overall, my friends, you can see we have 21 questions, and you can tailor this according to your needs. Please consider subscribing to our channel. It's Project Leadership Institute. We bring you all things project leadership. You do know that the Kaizen mindset is a leadership job, right? You need to be thinking continuous improvement. So I encourage you, download this, look for a link below, and just use this with your team. Just go through it as a checklist. Right here, I have a suggestion of a scoring model from 1 to 5. It is usually best to use somewhere 1 to 5, 1 to 7, something on the odd spectrum, just to make sure that, you know, we have an even balance, you know, across the board. And if people truly feel like they're in the middle, let them be in the middle. So if you have a 3 out of 5, that's fine. We don't need to push people into you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that we you know, tip the scales in either direction. So I would say, as far as scoring is concerned, use whatever scoring model works for you, and let me know how you get on with this. Okay? I wish you all the best in your project management. Remember, it's not just about the project management; it's about the improvement. That's the equity. A lot of companies losing money, working projects, making the same dumb mistakes because they're not doing a retrospective. I didn't say a lessons learned. I said a retrospective. Why am I saying a retrospective? Because the difference between these two is that a retro looks for what to improve and decides when and how to improve them. A lessons learned is like, okay, well, I guess we'll do this next time. No. I want you to do this at a minimum at the end of every phase. If you're in a predictive environment, if you're in an agile environment, I want these questions to spur your thinking and your team's thinking. All right? Hope that helps. You take care, and all the very best in your projects.